What's up guys, Ben here bringing you another video today. I want to do a little bit of sort of my normal sort of takeaway video after week 2 of the Major 2 qualifiers. I got about 5 points to walk through in regards to sort of team pool. Things are starting to get a little bit clear as far as seeding goes for the event. So let's talk about where some of the teams fall into brackets and what things some teams need to work on this weekend in order to either get in a winner's bracket, get a top seed, or maybe avoid starting in losers. So here is your current standings for the Major 2 qualifiers. As a refresher for those that maybe are new or don't quite remember how this tournament structure works, we'll take a look at the bracket, and basically the top 8 seeds from these qualifiers will go in the winners round 1. The bottom 4 will go into each one of these matchups for elimination round 1, losers, whatever you want to call it. So you really want to get in the top 8, otherwise you get in a one and done situation. You gotta wait till Friday, you know. You don't have a lot of momentum, you might get in a lot of trouble and get dead last. Of note here is that it's likely going to be a mix of teams that go 5-0, teams that go 4-1, and 3-2 in winners. But let's talk about the team that's sitting atop of the standings right now, and it's OpTic Texas. So obviously, as you all know, Scump is retired. They brought Bruce back after sort of benching him from the team after Major 1, and they've been on a really nice run here, off to a 3-0 start. Through 3 matches. I think for me, probably the player that stepped up the most in this, and I got to give him his flowers, is Ender. These numbers are way above what we normally see from him, and I think especially his impact in search has been really key, both with the AR and this guy's disgusting with the sniper apparently. So I need to give him a lot of credit. Derek Collar's obviously come in and played very well in this team. Control numbers, 0.93 is not too bad. I mean, someone's going to always kind of end up in a weird role there, but for the most part, the numbers are very good. Ant obviously is still doing his thing. I think the biggest thing for Ant when we talk about what he's done with this team now, with this new roster, is they moved him off of the bomb carrying role that he had for a while at the beginning of the year. He's now more in sort of an open role in regards to search, and I think that's best for him. You know, I talked with him about it, if you guys watched my streams last week, when me and Shotzi were watching the Challengers Elite playoffs for a bit, and Ant really said that it's sort of running bomb, kind of being restricted, the smoke trophy situation that he had at the beginning of the year in Modern Warfare 2019, like, it's not a play style that he's very comfortable with. So having to be able to be more of a free roll is really key for him, being able to find those gaps and play make. So I think a couple of things here for OpTic is I think the search has been really the backbone of a lot of the success in the last 2 or so weeks, especially that game 5 against Boston. That was a pretty gritty series. Obviously that was with Scump, by the way. That was the last series he played. Pretty funny, his last series tucking ends in. But I think for me, the Embassy search has been really key against the Seattle and Toronto series. That being said, I think for OpTic going forward, they have 2 very interesting matchups this week. I think likely they're going to get to 4 wins, but let's talk about these 2 teams they're going to play. One is the Vegas Legion, who are probably the best, if not one of the best search teams in the game, and FaZe. Both teams might be on like 3-4 wins before the series and probably in winners, so this might be a funky map series, but another team that's really good in search. So I think for all the improvement that OpTic has made, especially in the game mode, we're going to kind of see where they net after this week by playing 2 of the 3 best search teams in the league. My prediction, to be honest, is that OpTic's, again, going to probably end up with 4, maybe 5 wins. And I think they're going to probably cement themselves in the top 4. For right now, when I did the tier list yesterday, I didn't put them in Sunday regulars. They were like right on the line. I wanted to see what they did this week. But based on the way that things are breaking, I think right now they're going to probably catapult themselves into that conversation for sure. And that really kind of gets to sort of the next kind of point I have. So obviously right now, you know, we think the top 3 teams are FaZe, New York, and Toronto. And I think all 3 should be good value to make it to winners. Toronto's got 1 match left, but they're on 3 wins. They're probably locked. New York are sitting at 2-1 right now with victories over Thieves and Florida and a loss to FaZe. But they do have Vegas and Seattle coming up, so they should get a dub. Honestly, looking back at this, New York got like the freest schedule in terms of Major 2. Like, obviously, I know that they're defending champions. They should get their flowers. But they really got a pretty, like, look at the schedule, bro. I mean, Thieves obviously dealing with, I don't know if Ken was sick first week or not, but obviously there's that. Florida, not that good to respawn. Vegas, not that good to respawn. Seattle can't win a search. Like, FaZe is definitely the hardest match of the 5 that they are going to face in this Major 2 qualifier. Now, if you look at their schedule, you know, down the line, like, especially once we get to Major 4 and 5, I see a lot of teams here they're going to be scrapping for points trying to make it a champ. So I don't think New York, you know, you get an easy schedule now, it's going to be harder down the road. But I think New York, again, should qualify for winners bracket based on the match they have. And FaZe probably have the hardest schedule of the three, they've got to play LAG or a good hardpoint team, and FaZe really struggled in hardpoint this week, and I think need to really improve that game mode because they got absolutely waxed in 2 maps against New York, and they didn't win one against Rocker. They went 0-3 this week in hardpoint. They got to play LAG, who haven't lost a hardpoint yet, and OpTic, who are flying. So I expect FaZe, again, I don't know about the OpTic match. It's like 50-50, but I think they get it done against LAG, and what I've been calling the Fernando Jet Ski Bowl. For those that don't know, because I see some comments in the last video like, who is Jet Ski? And people put they think it's like Jet with a space ski. Fernando aka Jet Ski is a streamer. He plays a lot of ranked play, but he hangs out with like Tyler Abizi and Joe Thieves and Alec. They all like sort of are in the same friend group. So I've called this matchup the Jet Ski Bowl because they're all sort of friends and they're fighting over Fernando, and I thought it was pretty funny. But anyway, that aside, I think FaZe will also make it to winners. So New York, FaZe, Toronto, all in good shape, I think, to be there or thereabouts for this major. And I think they're clear of teams like Boston, who I'm still not sure if they're good or not, and we'll probably get a top seed for this event anyway. Minnesota, same question. Thieves are playing with a substitute. What other teams have I not named yet? Like Vegas, Florida can't win respawns. We'll get to them in a second. So, and LAG, obviously a new team, having a good start, but outside of hardpoint, I think I still have questions. So it's going to be this sort of top 4 conversation from the rest of the group, but we'll see if we get any upsets at the event. I want to talk about LAG now because I actually need to give this team some props. They've obviously did not have a really good major one. They were probably the worst team in the league. Going into that event, London might have beat them in terms of how bad London played the actual event. But when we talk about LAG with this new squad, like they have been absolutely smoking teams in hardpoint. I know, like the S&D still a little bit funky. The control doesn't look all that good. I actually don't think that they have won a control just yet with this team. So I still have some questions about how good they are, but they've stabilized their squad for now. I think they have really good top 6 upside, and I like sort of the path that they're currently on. Now, they're sitting at 2-1, and they do have to play FaZe in Toronto, so they might get in a funky 2-3 need help situation, but I think even if they get kind of unlucky and starting losers, I feel pretty good about them winning 2 games from teams coming back down and making the run. I think the next week is about, when you look at FaZe in Toronto, is about getting better in search, improving that control, and starting to round out your map pool going into the event, because teams are going to start, figuring out now with LAG what maps that older academy team was good at and bad at, and they've now applied that to the way that they've been picking maps in these series so far. I want to talk about Vegas and Florida for a second. I have a little bit of news when we get to Florida in a second, but both of these teams can't win respawns. I believe both teams at the moment have only won 1 respawn each. For Vegas, that was a hardpoint Mercado that they beat Seattle on in their first match of this qualifier, but they didn't win one against Boston, and we took a search, and same against London, which is surprising because London was really struggling going into that match. I mean, for Vegas, it's look, like they've got to figure that out. They're such a good S&D team that I feel confident they can grind it to game 5. But here's the thing about Vegas is, the reason they've got to figure this out is they're going to play Subliners, who are obviously an amazing respawn team. Pretty good, not great in search. But then you've got OpTic, who obviously are playing very good. So Vegas is in real trouble right now. They're 1-2. They really need to try and run the table this week, which is going to be hard. 2-3. They're gonna need some help to try and get in winners bracket, but things not looking amazing for Vegas, at least for this major. They're gonna really need to scrap one out, I think, when they get to the event. That being said, you win 1 series in losers and you're in the top 8, so that wouldn't be the worst of placings for Vegas, but the path is clear for them to take the next step as a team. Let's see if they can do it. Now let's talk about Florida. Their 1 respawn win so far in this stage was a control on a silo against LAG in their first series that they played. They 2-3-5 in that one, but against Toronto and New York, the respawns were not good. They didn't crack 200 points in either of the hard points, so that's not ideal, but they look dominant in the searches. Coming up this week, they've got to play London and Boston, which I think London is a winnable match for them. Boston probably not, but 2-3 again may not be enough to get this team into winners. I think with this on the line, there's been a lot of chatter in the last 48 to 72 hours that this team is going to make a change this week. I haven't been able to 100% confirm it, but I have pretty good confidence that it's probably going to happen. The name that I have heard potentially rotating in this roster is their substitute player, Dave Patty. As far as a replacement, the name I've heard is Brack, which is a little bit confusing to me. I'm a little surprised if they're going to take Brack from on the bench for Dave. I don't see how that fixes their hardpoint issues, because you're not really bringing in pace, which I think is probably their problem right now. When I watch their hard point, they're just not a good breaking team, and I don't really see how Dave coming in really fixes that. But that's the rumor on the block right now. We'll see if we get confirmed in that this week. But what I've heard behind the scenes from multiple people is what Florida is kind of thinking about this week going into these matches in Boston. Florida and Vegas in a tough spot, likely going to start in losers for this event, and Florida thinking about a roster change. Yeah, I think that's it. If I really had to take a guess on who I think is going to be your bottom four for this event, Seattle. I just think there's going to be one of those stages like we get with Seattle where they're just going to bottom out and they'll improve in the next one. London, I just think it's going to be really hard for them on the 2 and 3 with all their map losses to win any tiebreakers. And probably these two, but Thieves is sort of in a weird spot. They're 1 and 3 right now and they don't have 2 games this week. So 2 and 3, they get to 8 and 9 map count overall. They might just squeak in. But yeah, I think those are probably your bottom 4, and everybody else will see kind of with this logjam where the top 8 seeds sort of shape up. We might get some crazy matches on Thursday. We will see. But yeah, that's how things kind of currently stand in the CDL going into the last week of the Major 2 qualifiers. We're going to do more breakdown content on my predictions for the matches later on this week. And then in next week, after these week 3 matches, I will put out some videos. I record them on Monday. We're breaking down the previews for each team, my bracket predictions, all that stuff. So be on the lookout for that. As always, if you had any thoughts on this video, anything I missed, please let me know in the comments. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys on the next one.